Here next to me is Maria Ruiz. She is from the well-known Casa Ruiz here in Panama, and she basically runs operations for this well-known family company. And we're here at one of the farms here in Palmyra, and what we have here is kind of a we have some confused coffee trees, it seems like. Maria, you want to comment on that? Because I see trees that have cherries, ripe cherries, green cherries, and trees that have blossom. It's like they don't know in what part of the year they are.
Well, that's very interesting for us right now, since we've been hearing about the climate change theme, and we wonder what that means. And the best indicator for us are the trees. The trees are basically working under the direction of the sunlight, under the direction of when they get the rain, basically, and the temperatures and all that together. And it helps for us to understand how the weather and the climate is changing a little bit. I remember when we got this specific farm in around the beginnings of the 1980s. We could just very much every year, we knew the last week of March would be when we had the blooming taking place. But now it's not what is happening. Now what is happening is we have some little bit of blooming in November, a little bit of blooming in now. I'm surprised that the tree has quite a nice and interesting amount of sprouts coming out, and it will be blooming soon. So that means that we are not even in February. We are just at the beginning of January. So a couple of things that we have noted is that we have more rain coming in. We have also enough sunlight. So the tree is responding to the issues of those basic elements of growing.
And so, since there's still some coffee to be harvested, the pickers must be very careful now.
Well, now it comes the problem, because it's missing two different activities that used to be very separate. And because they are confused in one activity, then makes one activity to be more problematic. If we start blooming at this point, when the coffee pickers comes in, they will destroy maybe the flower without having it to be fertilized itself, autopollinized rather say. The other part that is also concerning is that we are going to start getting into the dry season, and maybe if we don't get the water that we need to blooming, we will lose all that, and that blooming will be gone, and it will never become a fruit. Now that's another issue. The tree might be confused now, might not be doing the blooming when it was supposed to be doing. So we might have less production. Let's assume that everything went with the new changes. Now we have flowers, now we have fruits. But then the fruits will be 2 months off what it's supposed to be. So now we expect that if it doesn't change, then we're going to have the fruits, or to take care of the fruit, the growing of the fruits, in a season that will be not the normal season, which might require more work to the farm, maybe more fertilization, more care. We might not be able to do the pruning because it will be in the middle of when we still have fruits. So it's making everything confused a little bit. So we are depending on how this will react to the different the next 2 months on weather conditions. Now, what it means at the end is that we might have a farm that will have less production if we lose it, and if we don't lose it, it will be a production that will be more costly, because we will have to put more care, and maybe we will need pickers when we might not have pickers. So that will also increase the cost of the picking part.
Yeah, and is this a specific problem just for Panama, or you think this can be felt throughout the region?
It seems that it is feeling throughout the region, because I was in Central America, and one of the things that is happening also is that the coffee crop, it's dragging a little bit. It was supposed, in 6 months we were picking up 75% of the total crop. Now it seems that it might be 8 months, maybe weeks. Instead of 6 weeks, we might end up having 8, 10, 11 weeks, which makes it more expensive too. Because we will have to be taking care of it, and it will not be a production that will be like a peak production where everybody just comes, gets it, and move out. So it's making a little bit more complex the situation in the growing areas.
Here in this part of Panama we have the bajarreque.
Yes.
Can you tell us what is bajareke?
Bajareke is the mist that is developed from the Caribbean system that comes over the mountain range, and because of the wind and it's coming over it, the mountain range, the wind that covers off then spreads it out on the valley of Boquete. So we have the mountain range running east-west, and we have the highest point of Panama, the Volcan Baru, running north-south, being Boquete right in the corner. Then we get the system from the Caribbean, which is the mist, and then we get the system from the Pacific, which is the torrential rain. But at this point, at this time of the year, we are getting more of the Caribbean part. The Caribbean showers could come for two reasons. One would be the hurricane season, that we might get some showers here, or when we get systems that are cold systems up in the northern part of the American, North American continent, then we get this kind of winds that will showers.
What I feel now, these little droplets, is that bajareke?
That's bajareke. That's a very nice bajareke.
Yeah, it feels like an air conditioning standing here outside. It's the best possible combination of Mother Nature, the weather, the trees, and everything.
And here it's easy to see the difference, the two systems working, because you can see the clouds. When we see the clouds, these clouds that brings this mist will be the lower ones, and the ones that are coming from the Pacific system will be the higher ones. You can even see both of them crossing each other. And when we have that, we know that, and that's why you will see that these trees always have this nice greenish because of this mist.
Over the last 3 years, you've been measuring and tracking weather data.
Yes.
And you've been doing it at various sites. How has that helped you in your work as a farmer and in your quality work?
The first thing is for the first time, to have real data. One thing is what we feel and we think and we follow. Now is to really make a connection between what I felt it was colder or warmer to a number that somebody else can relate to. So it becomes a language of what we live and we have lived through life, in order to be able to translate that to people who are around, and understanding what is the impact that those numbers will have then in something that we see on the cup.
And so are there some conclusions you've been able to draw doing your analysis with the data so far?
We have done two major works, and the first work that we did was the contribution of this system of farming on keeping water, fresh water. What it is, because for measuring that we have to measure the wind, we have to measure evaporation, we have to measure other variables that we didn't have access to. But now, since we have access to, we know how much the wind it is blowing. We know, using some formula, in general, how much water is being kept because of the coffee systems. That's one major work that we started to do with the university, and we started to maybe repeat that again to see what happens and if it is valid, the formula. And the other part that we have also done is what is the impact on the sunlight on the growing at the northern area, because as you see here, this northern area are exposed, are in the natural way. We're using the natural variables, and then we want to know what's been the impact, knowing, okay, now we know UV, we know, okay, how much sunlight we're having, how many hours. So those things are starting to be worked with the help of some students that are interested in also in learning more about coffee.